This is the I Am Salt Lake podcast, showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Hollifield, and welcome to episode 7 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. In this episode, I get a chance to talk to Christian over at the Hive Gallery. They've been doing a lot here for the local art scene here in the Salt Lake City area. I get a chance to kind of talk to him how it is to deal with different artists and who some of his favorite artists is, and some of the exhibits that they've had in the past, as well as what we can expect from them in the future. It was a really fun conversation, so I hope you enjoy listening to it and you get a chance to check out the Hive Gallery. They are located now in the Layton Hills Mall. I will list all of their information on the show notes on the website, iamsaltlake.com. That can also connect you with them. Get in touch if you are a local artist and want them to showcase your art. Check them out. They're a really cool art gallery. Also, go to the website, check out previous episodes of the podcast, subscribe to it on iTunes, as well as listen to it on Stitcher Radio. That also has our contact information on there, so you can get in touch with us and tell us what you think of the show. Anyways, wow, episode 7, it's been a fun ride. I've had a lot of really fun interviews so far. I have a lot of really fun interviews planned out here in the very near future. But if you would like to get on the show, hop on board and be part of the roster, feel free to drop me an email and get in touch, because I'd love to come to your shop, talk to your band, or maybe talk to you about your Etsy store that you might do online. Because after all, this is your podcast, Salt Lake City, and I want to let you have a chance to shine a little bit. So anyways, hit the website up, iamsaltlake.com. Again, my name is Chris Hollifield. And I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to let you listen to the conversation that I had with Christian over at the Hive Gallery. All right, we're at the Hive Gallery today, talking with Christian, the manager here at the Hive Gallery. We're going to talk a little bit about and find out a little bit about what's going on here. First of all, let's just kind of find out, for somebody who's never had a chance to come and visit, how would you describe the Hive Gallery?
We're local arts driven. Our motto is art without boundaries, so we'll go anything from traditional to avant-garde. And we're all about local arts.
Okay, excellent. And how long has the gallery been open, been around?
Well, we were established in 2009. We started in Trolley Square in downtown Salt Lake, and we've had our store there for about 3 years. We just recently closed the doors there. But before we did, we opened up a second location in Layton Hills Mall, downstairs, close to Macy's, Journeys, some of these other places. And it's really been a good experience being up here in Layton. It's kind of surprising and counterintuitive to a lot of people, just because they don't think of Layton as being like the arts hub of the Wasatch Front. But there's people up here that really get it and love seeing something artistic instead of the same old corporate thing. And so it's been a really good experience opening up our doors in Layton. And now that we closed in Trolley, this is our hub. This is, our
So the response has been really good, actually, then up here.
Surprisingly
good for this area.
Yeah, it was definitely a risk opening up here in Layton, but we've gotten closer to the Ogden market, and people come down from there, or people walk in, and they're like, I haven't been to the mall in so long. What's this?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's all local arts.
So let's back up a little bit to, and hopefully, you said it opened in 2009. The Hive Gallery. How did it start? What prompted it to start and create a gallery art space?
Well, our owner's Emily Edmonds, and she started by doing just some almost like shotgun art events. She started down in a little place called Paradise Palms on 3rd South and 3rd East by the car wash there.
Okay.
And she would I think that they were gallery stroll driven.
Okay.
So she would set up in some space in Paradise Palms, and people would come down and they'd look at the art, maybe make a purchase here and there. And Trolley contacted her, actually, and she'll tell the story that she was apprehensive and she didn't want to open the store, and they kept coming back to her. And saying that they needed to get something artistic in Trolley and they needed a gallery and that kind of thing. And they finally gave her an offer that she couldn't refuse. And at the very end of 2009, she basically opened the doors and started doing events. We were always event driven because nobody knew who we were. And Trolley isn't the busiest of malls.
Yeah.
So we knew we had to bring people in. They weren't just going to walk by and randomly be purchasing stuff. So we started with fashion shows, art shows, music events,
Okay.
and spent the last 3 years really just trying to build our name, get ourselves known in the community.
Which I think you've done an excellent job of doing. What type of work would you say you showcase here?
Well, like I said, it's all local, but as far as style, and also, like I said, it's still art without boundaries. So we will do traditional, we'll do avant-garde. The majority of the artists that we find, we get a lot of this pop surreal, is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So right now the trend really seems to be, we get a lot of like comic book art and video game art. You can see we've got Superman over here and Batman over here and the Hulk, and or like you've got your Marilyn Monroe over here and some sort of fluorescent colors and that kind of thing, screen work. And then there's a lot of abstract type stuff. A lot of people work in the abstract. And then like if you see these concert posters, I mean, I would just call that technically really probably pop art, because it's actually branded with the names of the bands and stuff like that. So, it's sort of an advertisement, and it's also an artistic venture, considering that none of these images actually relate to the band or their album covers. They're all inspired out of the artist's head still.
So do you deal with any artists outside of Utah, or are they all in Utah?
We don't have a hard, fast rule about working with locals, strictly working with locals. In fact, we're kind of looking forward to maybe doing 1 or 2 big art shows with someone from out of town, maybe a touring exhibit or something like that, because that would be pretty awesome. It would add to our credibility and, and networking. And also I believe that wherever you go is local. You know what I mean? Like, it's important for us to work with our local community. It helps our economy. It helps the public appreciate the local talent better, and it helps the local talent build their skills better. And in the end, that benefits us all, whether it's just an artist who's actually able to make a living and their money goes back into the tax base, which means that they might be able to come and buy something from us or from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, enough of this sending your money out of town and overseas because you like the latest electronic gadget.
Keep the money local.
Keep the money local.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
So let's say I was an artist. Would I approach you to get my art in here, or what's the process to get your art featured in here, or get your art for sale so someone can come in and buy it?
Absolutely, you would approach us. Our method is we work with Facebook because it is free. It's the cheapest marketing tool out there that anybody, all of the social networking stuff, I believe that you should use everything at your disposal, especially for free. We run a shoestring operation with a skeleton crew, and so that means using every outlet of free marketing that we can get. So our method is find us on Facebook. It's the Hive Gallery. You'll know it by the logo, which is black and yellow with a bee with bee wings around the lettering. And you can send messages on the business pages now. So send us a message. Send links to any kind of websites or photo galleries, or attach photos to the message, and we'll take a look. We're always looking for new people to work with. There's just a few factors in terms of like what you do, what your style is, and what kind of product you make, because being a business, being a retail establishment, we still have to consider what we can sell.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that we don't still do events around town in different businesses, and that we can't work with someone who's making big portrait work or just big scale pictures for higher price points, because, well, we work in a variety of capacities. So people that are making prints that are really affordable, like $10, $20 prints, and smaller price point items, we can put in our retail establishment. And if it's bigger stuff, then we hang the art in local restaurants and local clubs. And basically we'll do an opening night and run a show for a month. and that's a place where we, it's everything's still for sale, but we can, have their stuff displayed in more. It's not so much a museum setting, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like a laid out setting where it's up for a month, and then a customer base comes into that business, and they can see the work. And then we've actually had a surprisingly good amount of sales driven from restaurants and clubs, which I kind of didn't necessarily expect. I figured it was a good chance to show your work and a good chance for the artist to tell their people, my stuff's on display here. But we've actually had, random people come in and from out of state and stuff like that too that want to purchase the art, and it's really a win-win for everybody.
It seems like you guys have a lot of events going on. Let's kind of talk about a little bit about some of your past exhibits. What have been some of your personal favorites?
Well, the first thing I really love is we work really well with a little restaurant called Stone Ground. It's across the tracks from the Salt Lake City Library.
Mm-hmm.
And for a year now, we've been hanging the art there, just exactly what I was saying. We run it for a month. Every first Thursday, we do an opening night where the artist comes down. They invite all their friends and family. We try to invite all of our people. And the restaurant has their regular customers. So we do generally something like 6 to 9. We call it Eat, Drink, and Talk Art. And we just all gather around, have a bite to eat, have a beer, a soda, whatever. And, and essentially celebrate local arts, the local art movement,
And is this going on now then as well?
Yep.
Or
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent.
In fact, I don't know when your podcast is going to be up, but October
let's talk about some dates.
October 3rd is our opening day for our next show, and it's actually going to be Emily's abstract work.
Okay.
So we'll be gathering there from 6 to 9. Of course, we always stay late, have a little extra food and a little extra to drink, and linger around for a while. And like I said, it's a win-win for everybody. We drive more business to the local restaurant. We get more eyes on the local artist, and we raise our profile and people, and we build an appreciation for the local arts movement. So,
and would you say the Facebook page, back to that, is probably the easiest way to find out about exhibits and events going on?
Every event we host, we create an event on Facebook, and then as we get closer, we'll start reposting it more and more, trying to raise the profile. So we've got a page that we've created called Share Your Art Utah.
Really?
Yeah. And, anyone's welcome to join up on that page, and then they can post their artwork and kind of, shameless self-promotion.
Yeah.
And so we'll take the Utah art page, a few of the others, anything that's appropriate, and we'll repost the event on all of those. Plus, we try to hype it up on our personal pages and the Hive business page.
Uh-huh.
And we really try to market.
So let's back up a little bit here. Actually, the Share Your Art Utah, you were saying. I'm not familiar with this. This is like a fan page on Facebook, or
it's one of the groups.
One of the groups. Okay, it's a group page.
Yeah.
And how would somebody find that then? Let's kind of.
I think you would do a search on the top of Facebook. If you just typed in Share Your Art Utah, it should come up as a group.
Okay.
And then you could click over there and ask to be added. Okay. And we check it every day.
No,
we get a notification if someone wants to be added. And it's a chance for people to promote themselves. And there's other pages like that, but we felt good about starting one just to try to give people more opportunity, and it also gives us an opportunity to market. And it seems to have taken off pretty good. We get a lot of different people posting their art on there.
No, that sounds great. I'll definitely, and I'll actually even try to find that after we're done here, and I'll try to get any links posted on the I Am Salt Lake website, as well as the Hive Gallery sites, and just try to connect everybody together. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, who would you say your favorite artist, living or dead? It doesn't have to necessarily be local. I'm just kind of curious of your own personal. Do you have any favorite artists? Or?
Well, clearly the greatest artist ever in music is Jimi Hendrix.
Which, I've never really thought about it that way. I mean,
a painter with sound.
Yeah.
And an incredible pioneer. That's sentimental, and that's a personal favorite. And there's plenty more in that vein. But in terms of art, as far as not local, in all time and space, my favorite visual artist was Amedeo Modigliani. He does the long necks. He was Paris in the late 1800s to the early 1900s. probably died of syphilis or something like that. And he was one of those guys that would drink the absinthe all night. And he was a little bit hostile too. He would do people's portraits, and then they would ask him to sign it, thinking that it would be worth more if he'd just sign it. And then he would do in big block letters right across their face. He would just scroll out his name and ruin the painting, essentially. A little bit of an ass, kind of a Jim Morrison of his day or something like that. But the results of the work I just find to be ultra appealing.
Excellent. I'll have to check out some of his work. What advice would you give for like an aspiring artist? I mean, somebody who's interested in becoming an artist. I mean, your thoughts on like art school or any advice you would give?
Well, I would say number one, I believe in education. And that might make me a little bit of a hypocrite because I'm a musician and I've only taken a handful of music lessons. So there I go, not putting my money where my mouth is. But we run across a ton of people. In some ways, I think it's really true what we say that everybody's an artist. I don't know if that's hard, fast, 100%. But it's amazing how many people see themselves as a creative person, and they create music and they create visual arts and they treat their life as a canvas, whether it's their gardening or the way they design their house or the way they dress, or even the way they speak. We got to include like writers and people that have a handle of the English language and other languages. And so I really believe that everybody is an artist. And I would say never stop learning and educate yourself. It's really amazing the value of learning about the tools and learning about the techniques. And so many young people want to break the rules before they even know them. I'm a big advocate of breaking the rules. That's where you get the gold. You know what I'm saying? But learning the rules before you decide to break them is what makes you a skilled technician and someone who's actually understands color, understands balance, understands composition, and understands the structure of things. And so they understand when they are breaking the rules instead of just being a rebel.
Yeah.
So that would be my first tip. And then the other one is I've got a real never say die attitude. So I don't believe in quitting. And there's been a lot of talk recently, on radio and in discussion about like failure and what that means and stuff, and that word gets thrown around a lot in a kind of a way that's heavy, you know what I mean? Because I don't really believe until you've expired your last breath, you're not done, and so there's no reason to quit at anything, and music is a great context for that because I've met so many people in my lifetime who put their guitar down and just stopped playing.
Yeah.
And it seems to be rooted in disappointment, like you kind of have this vision of what's going to happen with your life and where you're going, and when it doesn't happen the way you expected it to, it seems like a lot of people kind of put it down. And, to each his own.
Yeah.
I'm not going to criticize that. But, like I said, never say die. Believe in that creative person in yourself and want it. Keep pursuing your dream. Don't let anyone tell you to quit. Don't let anyone tell you that you're inadequate. In fact, use that as fuel for your fire.
Excellent. Well, what would you say the most, kind of back to the Hive Gallery a little bit, what would you say the most challenging thing? I mean, I guess we kind of discussed it with locations, with Trolley Square and moving up here. Other than that, what would you say one of the most, or a few of the most challenging things with running a gallery?
Well, believe it or not, finding artists that think in terms, in a marketing sense, that are making product, that put themselves on a path. There's so much more to it than just creating a piece. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, once you get into this and you say that's what you want, which, as far as what I mean by what you want is, I want to make a living at this.
Yeah.
Then you are technically in business. So there's so much more than just creating the pieces. There's the idea of getting your name out there and creating things that are A, affordable, and B, desirable. But we're in a really tough economy right now, and art is it's it's an elective, it's not a necessity. It's a necessity in terms of living a good life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's really valuable, and people want to surround themselves with something that's aesthetically pleasing and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to choosing feeding your kids or buying an art piece for X amount of dollars, the kids are going to come first, and the electric bill is going to come first.
Yeah.
So keeping the prices reasonable is a huge thing, and coming across artists that understand that, and they they understand that they can make a living by selling things more in volume instead of overvaluing pieces because they don't want to let them go and that kind of thing. I mean, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent here, and there's a lot, but for every artist, there's another story. A million stories in the big city.
Yeah.
And it's never been more true than in the art scene. So some people, it's painful for them to let their pieces go, and some people know that there's going to be 10 more next week. And
what's been the most rewarding thing about helping run the gallery here for yourself?
That's a tough one because there's so many rewards. There's, people come in this store, especially with our Layton store, and they're just like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. What is this? And they're like, Layton needs something like this. Please don't go. They're like, is this temporary, or are you going to be in business? It's like, no, we're making a go of it. We're going to be here. So that's really rewarding. There's also, giving people an opportunity to express themselves. And, those of us who've been creating something, whether it's music or art or the written word or whatever, for a decade, a couple decades, that kind of thing, you get sort of in a run-of-the-mill way where, you're not so surprised, and you're not so thrilled with the day-to-day operations necessarily. But when people come in and they've never sold a piece before, or they've never understood how to reach out to the public and get people to know that they do what they do and who they are, get so excited about these experiences that, helping someone along with their career, helping them realize that they could even have a career, that's huge.
Yeah.
But the biggest, probably, I would still have to say, is when we've worked with kids.
As far as kids, as far as selling their art, or
just even doing an art project.
Okay.
We've, in the last 3 years, we've done children's coloring contests, and we've done children's art classes, and just the opportunity to invest in all of our future through people appreciating creativity. I always say, guitars and not guns, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's basically, it could be worse. People could be picking up a gun, and picking up a paintbrush and expressing yourself is so fulfilling, and it really should have a payoff in the future, if more people can appreciate their creative side and believe in themselves. And I think through the children's classes and the children's coloring contests and these kind of things, and all of our events have always been all ages and free. And so we even did an art show that was look into the mind of a 9-year-old. The father was so proud. He got his son to do 30 or 50 different art projects, which could have just been sketches on paper, but we hung it all through our store and trolley. And we got 50 people down to come and mill around and look at the art of a 9-year-old, and to see the smile on his face and how proud he was and the attention he was receiving is incredible.
Yeah. That would be pretty awesome. Wow. Gosh. Kind of back up a little bit here. You got me thinking when you were talking about, the economy with art and a little tougher to sell maybe a piece of art versus someone paying their bills or food on the table, which obviously food on the table is important. But do you see art becoming more of a priority in people's lives, as far as it's important to have some good art on the walls, versus just a stupid poster or something like that? It's like, let's get something of quality. Do you see more of a demand for that?
Yeah, well, I think that part of our mission is to try to help foster that and create that, appreciating that your neighbor might be able to create something every bit as aesthetically pleasing as, like you say, a run-of-the-mill poster or something that was printed up in China and is branded with, XYZ. But I think the pendulum always swings back and forth, and we're coming out of a period of this consumer society, and it's not ever gonna like be eclipsed by a whole local thing. But I think that people really are realizing with the economy dipping, like just how consumer driven we've been in a sort of what I would call a generic way. You know what I mean? Like the whole Walmart thing and the big box store stuff and the branding, the corporate branding and the clothes and all this stuff. And I think that it's generational too. So maybe it's every other generation or something like that, but we always reject our parents' values, you know what I mean? So, so if our parents were driving the Escalade and have the newest phone, which the phone is actually an X factor because everybody wants that newest phone or whatever. That's like the new generations are certainly getting connected that way. But, the clothes, you start seeing younger people wanting to express their personality through we all do it through what we purchase, whether we realize it or not, you know. But like wearing clothes that aren't necessarily what you can get at any old store, or putting something on your wall that's unique. And I think that it really feels to me like the pendulum's swinging back towards that right now.
Well, one thing I noticed too about Utah, I've lived in a few places. I don't know your history as far as if you've lived in Utah your whole life, but one thing I notice about Utah and Salt Lake City area is it's all about keeping the money local too, and the economy, like supporting, buy local, and which I think is great. And so, maybe even with that way, with supporting local artists, with saying, hey, you know what, I want to keep the money local. Let's buy some local art, and you have the perfect outlet to do that in. I think it's great. So besides running the art gallery here, what are some of your other hobbies? Besides art or...
Well, I try to keep it really simple. One of my favorite, it's not really a quote because I would have to paraphrase it, but I read Frank Zappa's autobiography. And he said, people always ask me why I don't go skydiving or camping or fishing, or he was like, because I create music. Mm-hmm. This is what I do. It's what I love. I don't have a reason to do that other stuff because I'm happy doing what I do. Uh-huh. And so for me, I don't really have hobbies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We work at the gallery. We work really hard. It's 7 days a week. And when we were running 2 stores with 2 people, it was 7 days a week for each person. And that's rewarding and that's awesome. And then the other thing I do is I play music. We're called the Blues End Band, and I play solo. And music is still my number one passion, writing songs and playing the blues. And it's really what I live for. But this project also gives me an outlet, a really fulfilling, because I guess I would just say that, like life would be nothing without art, and that's all this stuff. I don't really find much time to read, but I find a lot of joy in the written word. Music, visual aesthetics, and I think that it's you create your world, and that's the way that I'm able to surround myself with things I love. My pets.
Excellent. And you mentioned your band, which I want to bring you back on the podcast sometime, and we could talk about your band. I'm really eager to find out some more about that. Just because of, especially after even talking today, it's
absolutely
you want to learn more and more, and kind of who's bringing what to the state. Where do you see the Hive Gallery in 5 years or so? What the direction you're going? Do you have any set direction, or you kind of? Where do you see it in 5 years?
Well, I don't know that that's hammered out in a completely formed idea. I've had a joke, recently that we would one day start the Hive Museum, Yeah. and then it would be not necessarily everything for sale, but it would be an archive of all this stuff, of all of our great locals who've established their careers. That's probably more than a 5-year view if it was even able to happen. Because we actually have to have some of our locals get a little bit older and even create their own legacies and that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
But, if we could really make a success out of this and really help increase appreciation for local arts and local talent and that kind of thing, and once again, hate to always come back to marketing, but it's a business, and the only way you survive is by making sales.
Yeah.
And so bringing in enough money on a month-to-month basis that we could have another store again or another couple stores, and or even franchise. I mean, like, the ideal would be to have Hive Galleries all over the country.
Yeah.
And they would be all based on their own local market, and they might be owned independently by other people, but just the whole idea that our brand and our logo stands for local arts.
Excellent.
We're creating a local arts movement. That's what I call it.
Excellent.
Only the thing is, the local arts movement already exists.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're not creating it. We're just trying to foster it and trying to help it along. And, the local arts movement is, if you create something, you're a part of the local arts movement. If you buy something from a local artist, you're a part of the local arts movement. If you go to a museum or go see a show, a ballet, an opera, a local band, you're a part of the local arts movement.
Excellent. Well, let's, as we kind of wrap this up here, let's talk about some of the events. I mean, I know there's probably a few events that are kind of planned here over the next little while. What are some of the events that are going to be going on with the Hive Gallery?
Okay, well, let's see. We'll start with October 12th. We're going to, it's a show called Bath Salt Lake, Zombies in Zion. And it's going to be at the Metro Bar over on 2nd South and just off 6th West, across from In the Venue. And that'll be from 6 to 10. And it's going to feature basically zombie art. So it would be photography by Kate Moore. She's coordinated most of the show. And she's got other local people, like local fashion folks and local makeup artists and that kind of thing, that have helped her with these photo shoots she's been doing. And I would imagine they'll be down there too. Plus, so far, I think they've rounded up 18 to 25 people to don their zombie makeup and make it to the show. So there's going to be zombies there. There's going to be photography and art, and that's October 12th. It's a Friday night at Metro. And then our biggest show of the year. This will be our 3rd annual 24-hour show. And you can find more details on Facebook, especially with this one, because it's quite a mouthful. But artists do their piece in 24 hours, and then we do a silent auction. All bids start at $30. And the bidding process, the silent auction is going to be on November 10th at the Doubletree Hotel. It'll be in their banquet room. The bidding will go from 6 to 9, and then we'll ring people up on their purchases from 9 to 10. And like I said, anyone's welcome to participate in this show. It's $15. That includes your canvas. It's a canvas box. And if you can do more than one piece in 24 hours, then any additional canvases are $10.
Now, so you take that piece home and do it then? Okay, and then bring it back within 24 hours.
So we have a pickup day, we have a drop-off day, and then we have the silent auction. So the whole process goes from the 8th to the 10th of November. Now, our pickup is going to be at Stone Ground. We talked about Stone Ground before,
we did,
across from the library, from cross tracks. The pickup and the drop-off will be from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So you can come into Stone Ground and pick up your canvas or multiple canvases on the 8th. Then you come back the next day and drop them off on the 9th. And then we'll hang the show, and on the 10th from 6 to 10 will be the silent auction.
Awesome. So October, November. Any other events that you care to plug right now, or is that kind of?
Well, the one thing actually, let me finish with the 24-hour show, because I just realized there's some other details so that people aren't confused. There's 2 pickup points and 2 drop-off points. It'll be at Stone Ground for Salt Lake and in the Layton Hills Mall here at our retail location. You'll be able to pick up and drop off canvases too for anybody up north, so they don't have to drive into Salt Lake for long distances. So ultimately, the only one drive on the 10th to come down if you're up north, if you're in Ogden or Layton or anything like that. As far as other shows, starting in November, every Friday is going to be a print show with a different artist. So we'll bring in new prints, and the prints should range anywhere from $10 to $20 before the holidays. So great gift ideas. Plus, come in and see the new artists that'll be featured. And I would say that a few of the artists that will be involved in that, I know we're going to have a Travis Bone print show. He does these concert posters. You may have seen him over at the Park Cafe, and he does all the Twilight Show concerts.
Okay.
So all of these posters are authorized by the bands and the venues. They're not bootlegs, and most of them are signed and numbered, so they're collectible. I know we'll have a print show with Travis Bone. We've got Panda Propaganda, which is another guy. He does our Betty Page. He does our lately he's been on a Katy Perry kick. He also does like the Marilyn, and he does the Robo Pandas and that sort of thing. We're going to do a print show with him, and then also our Black Friday night is going to be Beth Fisher, and she does this urban photography thing. Right. So that's 3 of the artists. But every Friday in Layton Hills Mall, we'll open up a new print show, and we should have snacks and beverages, and people are welcome to come and mill about and check out the store.
Excellent. And like I said, or like we mentioned earlier, you probably find out again, all those on the Facebook page.
Exactly.
So you're on Facebook and Twitter. I'll put all those links on the website. Anything else you care to mention that maybe we haven't discussed? I mean, you have some great artists in here. I tried to get some pictures. I'll post those on the website. I think the best thing for people to do is to come here and actually witness the space themselves. I mean, that's really the best way to do it. And you're located at Layton Hills Mall, downstairs.
On the Macy's side, the Macy's entrance, and then you were right there just around the corner when you get into the mall area. And
what are the hours? So it's Monday, or it's 7 days a week here, right?
7 days a week, Monday through Saturday is 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Sundays are noon to 6 p.m.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because I definitely would recommend anybody who hasn't had a chance to come in here, check it out. And I say, hey, come on in, and even mention that they heard you on the podcast. It'd be kind of fun, I think, just to kind of see the word get out there. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on the show today, Christian, and I want to get you back on sometime and talk about your band. Music's an important part of my life, so, and especially local music, local musicians. Hopefully we can get you back on and we can talk about that. And other than that, unless you have anything else to say or anything else, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Just thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate it.
You bet.
And everybody support the local arts movement. That's what it's about.
Thank you very much, Christian, for taking the time out of your schedule to talk with me and come on to the podcast. I do want to also get him on and talk to him about his band, like I mentioned in the interview. So expect that probably in a few episodes down the road. Again, connect with us on the website, iamsaltlake.com. It's going to give you our contact information. It's going to connect you to previous podcasts as well as a blog that I'm trying to connect on there. Also, I added a donation button. Feel free, if you find it in yourself, to kick over $1 or $2 to keep this podcast running, as it isn't free to do that, and I kind of want to keep the advertisements minimal unless I find an awesome local sponsor to sponsor the podcast to help keep it financially running. So yeah, check that out and get in touch with us. If you have any comments, check out the previous podcast episodes, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Get in touch and tell us what you think. Again, my name is Chris Hollifield. This is the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Until next time, remember that it only takes one of you guys to make a difference here in Salt Lake City.